How we doing? Good. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Coach. What do you think was the best thing that came out of the bye week for your team and especially your offense?
Oh, get healthy. Get some extra reps. Guys get a little extra training in, and just kind of regroup and catch their breath. Realize where we're at in the season and what's at stake, and just get our mind refocused on the end goal.
A lot of attention last week to Jake missing some practice time. Expectations for him this week?
Yeah, he's good to go. He'll be on the field tomorrow, full speed and ready to go. So I think we're just being pretty cautious, over the weekend, making sure that he was good to go. And, I know today I just was talking to him 5 minutes ago, and he's in the weight room right now working out. So he should be all set.
And what do you think is the most important thing that he or your team can learn from that last game at Hawaii and how it unfolded?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I know there's a lot of things, and the big piece, the obvious piece, is the turnovers and staying on schedule. Nothing different than what we've talked for quite a while, and the ability to make good decisions and take what the defense gives you, and don't try to force things we didn't need to do. And had some good opportunities there, even in the fourth quarter, where we could have righted the ship and. Just need to do a good job executing the offense we have, and we have a lot of big plays built into it, and take the smaller checkdowns and all the easy plays that are in front of you and stay the course.
How challenging is the trip to Laramie? We talked about the trip to Hawaii and the wind potential, but are there any elements of weather traveling to Laramie?
No, not this time of year, I don't think. I mean, I think anything's possible out there. You got to be ready for that, a snowstorm and October is not, out of the norm there. But right now the current forecast looks pretty nice, 50 degrees, sunny, and should be a good day.
I think that's all I have. Sorry.
Okay.
Pretty sure I asked you this 2 weeks ago, Coach, but getting the run game going, did you work on that during the bye week, and what is it going to take to get it going against Wyoming?
Yeah, we did. And it has to. That's the biggest portion of, what we have to get done respectively in the run game is, commit to it physically. And I do think there's a demeanor piece that up front, the tight ends and O-line need to answer to and answer the bell. We'll be making a few changes up front potentially, and see if we can get a little better mix to run the football. And I think that we're talented enough to do it. I think that there's an attitude that has to be set that we don't need to be a pass-first offense. And I realize we're really talented with our receiver core and Jake throwing the ball, but 20 and number 7 need to get more involved. So we're excited about that possibility, and I know the guys will take the challenge.
According to the depth chart, Jalen Henderson is still the number 2 quarterback at this time. Is there anything that you would like from him to see from him, because he got in for a few plays, albeit he was forced in there against Hawaii, but anything more from his development that you'd like to see this week to maintain your confidence in him being the number 2?
Yeah, I think Jalen just needs to continue to progress in knowledge of the offense. It's some of the base things that we ask him to do. There's going to be things that we ask Jake to do that we wouldn't ask Jalen to do, but being able to fundamentally operate the offense and our base stuff with a high level of confidence and be able to get through his progression reads really easily. Running the football and checking runs and keep plays for him are pretty easy, and I think that comes pretty naturally. But I think continue to progress to, the next step for Jalen would be being able to be really competent reading a defense, and I think he's getting better at that all the time and getting really close to being able to be a proficient passer.
Coach DeBoer mentioned that he knows Craig Bohl very well. I'm assuming you do as well, since you've been with Coach DeBoer for this long. Any insight that you can glean into his personality, his coaching style that you could share with us?
Yeah, I think Coach Bohl for a long time. I mean, I remember actually going against Coach Bohl when he was at North Dakota State. I was at South Dakota State, and there's always been a physical demeanor to his program, and just really a hard-nosed defense and an offense that's going to be able to run the football. They're going to be really fundamentally sound and disciplined. They're going to be exactly where they're supposed to be. They're going to be good tacklers, and you're just not going to see a lot of guys out of position. So expect the same on Saturday.
Any questions for Coach Grubb?
Okay. Oh, you have another one?
Yes, just one. It's not that hard. How did you spend your bye week, and how do you feel like the team spent their bye week in terms of off the field, getting their minds off of football, if at all possible?
I don't think it was possible, not for this team, and I mean that in a really complimentary way. I think that the guys are extremely frustrated, and determined is probably a better word. They're anxious to get back out there and prove the type of team that they think they are, and so I think that they really didn't. After that happened, they didn't want the time off. They wanted to get right back out there and make a difference. So we're excited about that. The type of demeanor these guys had, and I think all the coaches are seeing it from both sides of the ball, just guys that are committed to, finding a way to win the next game and get back out there and prove it.
And last question for me, what were those offensive meetings like after the loss, and what was the process like in terms of flushing this one down, learning from it, and moving on to Wyoming?
Oh, I think, it was tough to flush, honestly. If I'm being transparent, I think that one was really tough to flush, because we felt like we had won the third quarter 10-0 and went into the fourth quarter feeling pretty good. Just needed to finish out one or two drives, and, we were incapable of doing that. So felt like we had taken two huge steps in the UCLA and UNLV game where learning from the Oregon game, had the opportunity to win the football game in the fourth quarter, and we liked that weight on our shoulder. And, we didn't do that this time. And so not being able to come through in the clutch was really frustrating. But I think the biggest part for the guys was there's definitely a mature, just a vision of ownership and understanding of what went wrong and the things that they need to do to fix it, and ready to take that step.
Coach, you hinted at changes up front on the offensive line. Is that based on performance or health or anything else you can tell us about that?
Performance. We got to be more physical, and there's going to be some guys moving around that we hope can bring that, and just like I said, a commitment to running the ball, and that's an emotional thing. There's an attitude that has to come with running the football that we haven't seen enough of, and we'll find the guys that'll do it. There'll be 5 guys out there that know how to do it. You bet.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing today? Long time no see.
Sounds like you missed us. Coach,
we did.
Show us your other hand. No.
Right.
So how about for you? Best thing that came out of the bye week?
Just the excitement of the individuals having a chance to kind of recharge their batteries after you go through a 6-week strand of being able to play, being able to do some self-scouting and seeing some things and some tendencies, and just being able to have everything charged and getting back to our 1-0 mindset.
And the challenge you face against Wyoming this week with an experienced quarterback who's not easy to bring down when he runs it and throws it better than he used to. How do you evaluate that challenge in front of you?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of being able to play, where you have to have your constant, consistent improvement every week. So every week there's going to be someone or something that you have to do, and the biggest thing that we try to do is literally point the fingers at us and figure out what we have to be able to do to continue to improve. And the biggest thing we know that they do a great job of also running the ball as well. So we want to put them in scenarios, or put us in scenarios we can be great, being able to stop the run and defend it, and force him to have to make some plays with his feet and or his arm, which obviously he is doing a better job at as well. And
do you see a difference in him from previous years? To me, it looks like he's a little bigger.
Yeah, he looks like, just as most individuals have had a chance to develop over this last year, you can definitely see some physical development. And the one thing that we see that's very critical is you don't see him falling back often when he's scrambling and he's falling to the ground, he's falling forward. And as long as he is, he's falling forward for 2 and 3 more yards.
And what about any takeaways from the Hawaii game, the 2 weeks that you've had to dissect that and try to grow from it? Is there something you hope your defense can take away from that game moving forward?
Yeah, just continuing to grow, and for us, we put a big emphasis on making the plays you're supposed to make. There were some times during that particular game where we were at the point of attack and we're inches away from being able to make our play. So we just have to have a little more strain to be able to make that play when you're there. Some other things that we wanted to do just from a communication standpoint to make sure that everyone's on the same page as well.
Sticking with Sean Chambers, I mean, this is another mobile quarterback you guys are going against. Do you think you learned anything from either the Oregon or UCLA games in terms of how to prepare for this style of quarterback?
Yeah. There's definitely going to be some carryover whenever you have to play athletes who have their hands on the ball. Probably the biggest thing that we also have is we get to get that in our own practices going against some of our quarterbacks. But it's definitely going to be some carryover as we prepare for someone who can make a lot of plays with their feet.
Coach Grubb just talked about the challenge of flushing a game in which they had 6 turnovers. But on defense, I mean, what was the mindset coming back from Hawaii and trying to kind of move on for Wyoming?
Yeah, the mindset was you're upset because as what we call as firemen, you don't focus on how you got onto the football field. You know that all you have to do is you see a fire and you have to go put it out. The biggest thing, the urgency from our standpoint just came into play was you can't give up 17 points in the fourth quarter no matter how you got on the field, no matter what the scenario was. And we have to get better there, being able to finish and being able to do some things differently in the red zone.
Coach Elijah Gates missed that Hawaii game. He's a safety that kind of specializes in defending the passing game. Was his presence missed against Hawaii, and will he be able to return this week against Wyoming?
Yeah, yes, his presence was missed. The anticipation is that he'll be back for Wyoming.
And I noticed on the depth chart, Coach Diagina has now superseded LJ Early. Is that based off the game in Hawaii, and is it just something Kosi has done in practice?
No, just Kosi has been doing great in practice, and it's still going to be kind of that either-or scenario that we typically deal with.
Defensively, you mentioned the run game. Xavier Holiday is a guy that has gotten a lot of attention preseason and during the season. What about him and his running game specifically challenges the Bulldogs front?
He gets downhill right now, and often he's rarely going downhill by himself. Usually he's got a big fullback, number 36, in front of him that's trying to break someone's face mask, or a fullback that's coming, or a tackle or guard that's pulling, getting downhill. So, and they're just trying to overwhelm you at the point of attack, and they've done a good job of just getting enough surge to where they can get 3, 4, 5, 6 yards a crack. And we have to be great being able to make our plays in the backfield or making those plays at the line of scrimmage.
And, Coach, how did you spend the bye week, and how does the defense spend the bye week off the field, if at all, to try and get past what happened at Hawaii?
Doing a lot of self-scout. What you can't do is we kind of have a philosophy where you have to be able to fess it and fix it. So we identified some of those challenges that we've endured over the first 6 games, how we're going to address them and manipulate some of the changes systematically and structurally and go about it in practice. So it was great having the guys back on the football field and allowing them to be able to get away and recharge their batteries and see some great things that's going to be coming up. And it was probably even good for them just to spend the weekend being able to see some good college football games also. So we can't wait to be back on the football field with these dogs tomorrow.
Well, can we ask you that? Which college football games did you watch and what'd you like?
You know, it was, to me, it was kind of like a smorgasbord because I think I looked at it a little bit. Whatever was on television, I was watching it. So we were just going back and forth from all of the various games. So there wasn't one. I don't think I watched one whole football game. There was bits and pieces of every one that was on. My wife said, hey, well, you need to stop turning it. I'm going to take the remote control from you. Because every time there was a commercial, I was going to a different game.
That's what a remote control's for.
You're correct.
Sounds like a great Saturday.
Correct.
In going through your preparation for Wyoming, Coach, can you figure out why they struggled against UConn so much when you guys had no problem with UConn?
No. It's sometimes that's the ebbs and flows of college football, where you always find out that there's going to be a team. Maybe it wasn't necessarily a struggle as much as maybe UConn could also potentially be better than you think as well. So that there's never a true point of trying to ask or figure out how or why a team struggled. It's going to come down to just true execution. And they had guys at the point of attack, and those guys from UConn made their plays.
Stephen asked Coach Grubb about the challenging environment of Laramie. Playing the game at 12:30, well 12:30 here, 1:30 there. Does that change anything? Because it'll be at least a bit warmer than it would be if you were playing the game after sunset.
No, the only thing that's going to change is that sun's going to be shining bright, and we're going to love it because the grass is green and the sky's blue.
Coach, did you feel like anything was learned in particular about Wyoming's game against Air Force, having a first conference game and seeing how that one played out?
Yeah, it was some great hard play. Air Force did a great job of putting them into some scenarios where it was a lot of third down and longs, and they were able to be successful early in the game. And it was just one of those scenarios where it was a close game back and forth, and then Air Force just kind of slowly but surely just creeped away from them, just little by little. And there were some opportunities that I think Wyoming had, and they just could not capture those moments at those given points in time.
Grubb says for the offense against Wyoming, it was more about physicality than health. Did you see that for your defensive team as well when you guys were facing Hawaii?
You said more about physicality over health?
Yeah, they said it was more of a problem with physicality than over health. Do you see the same thing for the defensive team?
Not necessarily. For us defensively, what we saw, we had players in our positions versus Hawaii. We just had to make some of those plays. Yes, we know that we did miss Elijah Gates, but we have that next dog in philosophy, and the next dog who comes in has to be ready and prepared, and we do a great job of trying to prepare our guys, and we take a lot of pride in that from a coaching staff standpoint.
And then a lot of the rushing plays for Hawaii was sort of the key plays. How do you guys just prepare for more of just the rushing offense when you guys go against Wyoming and, again, that quarterback that's good at moving?
Yeah, just the physical elements of it all, where you have to be great when it comes to block destruction and being able to do your job inside the core. And we're working a lot of being able to fit and get off of blocks at the point of attack as well.
And just one last question for me. What is sort of that mindset you guys have just midseason? You guys took this break of, you came back from a loss, and now you just have this week to continue. Like, what is that message you're giving to your defensive team?
Oh, the message is clear. We still have one goal and one responsibility. That's to be 1-0, and that's always the message coming to a game week. 24 hours after the Hawaii game, it was kind of lost and forgotten. But we can't be captivated by the past also. So we're just excited to be able to get back onto the field and work with our guys and have another chance to go 1-0 this Saturday. Yep, you're welcome.
You have any more questions for Coach Inge?
Coach, have you faced a quarterback who was tough to bring down to get to the ground as Chambers?
In the past, yes, and you have to work on the physical elements of being able to wrap and squeeze with violence and drive your feet when you have him wrapped up. And in some of these scenarios, it's not going to be about getting a big hit. It's going to be about making sure your body's under balance so you can secure the tackle and wrap him up where he is. And he does a good job being able to spin off and trying to fall forward. So we definitely going to have we're going to have to get our money's worth this Saturday.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, go Dogs.
I can see you already, Paul. You got one brewing already. I can see it. So, morning to all of you. It's good to see you all back here. So, this gets it going with the schedule for a normal game week, and that's good. So, go ahead, have at it.
Well, you look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and optimistic, so something good must have happened in the bye week. What do you think is the best thing that came out of this little break in the season?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what had happened in the Hawaii game, I think it's just comes a point in the season where you go fall camp, and we've had six weeks behind us, and so a little refresher is always good. And if there wouldn't have been a bye, we'd have just kept moving forward. But I think you heard from the coaches that you take a look at yourself, and we still got a team that's super hungry. We got a team that is chomping at the bit to get back out there and reprove themselves. And so we practiced Thursday and Friday. They did some working out Monday and Wednesday last week. So even though there was some time away, we're really making sure we're still staying in top shape and doing a good job of getting stronger. And those are some of the things that we actually showed our guys, with real data, is that they're getting stronger as the season goes on, and that's what we need to do. And we practiced yesterday. It was really good, crisp, efficient practice, very sharp. So, I think urgency is the word that's been used a lot by our team. Just, making sure we're prepared as we go into this next week's, getting ready for Wyoming.
And Coach Grubb mentioned how it was kind of hard to put that last game in the rearview mirror. Are there some elements of that game that you want to hang on to as reminders or as, instructional aids moving forward?
I think, first of all, it was hard, harder than most. But I think you always do that, no matter what happened, win or lose. We're going to remember things that we took from the things from even the first game of the season, But in particular, you look at what we talked about in this room, pertaining to the Oregon loss, and then the UCLA win, and then the UNLV win, and every game, and for this team, it's the things you remember this year, but there's also things you remember years back, and so you always, especially when you have a group that's together, and you can kind of think back to those games. You remember those experiences because those are the lessons you learn, right? The good lessons, the ones that were harder, and that helps you get better moving forward. So there are certainly things from the Hawaii game that you hear the coaching staff talk about that we need to learn from and move forward with.
And Coach Grubb mentioned the increased emphasis on the run game, maybe some changes up front. Is that something that the bye gave you time to kind of reconsider your run-pass balance, or is that something else that really prompted that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's one of those things where we never stopped working on it. It's always an emphasis. I've just always felt that way. The nature of it is that you pick up big chunks of yards pretty quickly when you have really, really athletic guys and a high percentage completion from your quarterback. So you pick up big chunks of yards throwing the ball. But I think the emphasis and I think balance. You said the word balance. I think that's the key word. Balance to me is the ability to be able to run the football when you need to, and when a team forces you to do that, and that's where we're under par right now. We're not where we need to be, and which is this week having some time certainly helps in assessing that deeper, and trying some things out, because when you're in the course of a week and you practice on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, kind of a dry run, and Friday's a walkthrough. There's not a lot of time to try things. You got to be locked in, and even though we do that, we mix up lineups here and there. A lot of it's out of necessity because of dings and injuries and so forth. So this week was good, Thursday and Friday, and actually yesterday, trying a few different combinations. And sometimes it isn't always about the best players; it's about the guys playing the right spots that work the best together.
Coach, coming off your last loss to Oregon, the team responded with 63 points against Cal Poly. I know that you were away from the guys for the majority of the week, but do you get a sense from maybe the team captains of how the team is hoping to respond this week at Wyoming?
You're talking about our team?
Yes.
What was it about Cal Poly that you said?
Coming off the first loss at Oregon,
yeah,
they responded.
I got you. Yeah. I see. Okay. No, Monday, the staff was on the road after the game, coming back from Hawaii. Staff was on the road, but I stayed back here Monday and Tuesday, and the guys were in the weight room and just really got a feel of what our mindset was, and talked to guys individually, captains, Unity Council, and I think what you hear Coach Grubb and Coach Inge say about how it's looking at yourself. I think that's really reminiscent of what our team is, entire coaching staff is doing. And that's what I guess I'm most proud of. I mean, I look at things from a personal standpoint too. You look at the things that you needed to do better to win that football game, and they always get magnified, right? The one thing here, the one thing there, the one missed tackle that Coach Inge is talking about, the one turnover, it gets magnified. The decisions, whatever it is, it always gets magnified when you lose, especially a close one. And so we do that win or lose. We look at those closely. It's just a matter of, moving forward. I think the guys just really have a great mindset of it's about us individually. It's about us coming together. And there is strong chemistry on this football team right now. and a desire to do some great things. But we also know, and we've seen that you have to play a complete game. We got to play better team football.
And Coach Inge kind of talked about the challenges of wrapping up Sean Kerman at the quarterback position. When you put on the tape, what do you see the challenges in stopping his dual threat ability?
Yeah, what he also does a good job is not just getting the yards, and he's making better decisions. They are not turning the ball over, right, which is allowing them to win football games. And then he does a good job of keeping his eyes downfield as he's creating. Jake does a great job of that. Eyes are downfield, looking for the way to convert. If it's 3rd and 8, and he knows he can't get it maybe by running, he'll press the line, and then maybe find someone or spin out of a tackle and then still fight to find a way to get them the first down. So there's different ways that he's getting it done, and you can see his development, his growth as a player. I know Coach Inge isn't as familiar as he is. I was here when, Sean was out of high school, and seeing him kind of followed him throughout his career there, and he is definitely bigger, it looks like, on film. And you can see that. Coach Inge said, he's fallen ahead for yards, so you can see, he's doing a nice job leading the football team. They're 4-1 for a reason.
Have you looked at any of Wyoming's games this past year, and what do you think about their game against UConn, where it was close till the final seconds of the fourth quarter? And does that do you kind of look at that and say that's college football, or do you say, well, that's something UConn did that we could possibly do?
Yeah, that one's really an interesting game. I heard you ask the question to Coach Inge, and that one really is a hard one to figure out. And you get so caught up in just, you compare scores, right? And it gets hard because that one's a tricky one to figure out. But, we also had UConn challenging us in the first quarter too, until we strip sacked the quarterback and scored defensively. So, it was a long trip across the country for Wyoming. There's a million variables that you come into play each and every week. And so for us, it really just comes down to not worrying about that game, realizing that they've played some really good teams very well, and they have a very good football team, one that's going to be physical, going to be one that comes after you, one that when they play at home, they have a fan base that, Saturdays are going to be all about their football program. And so they're going to be hyped and amped, and they're going to be wanting to get back on the winning streak just like we are wanting to. So it's going to be two teams that are going to be fighting extremely hard on Saturday, no question about that.
You talk about Laramie like you've been there before. I mean, what are your experiences in Laramie in the past, and what are you expecting on Saturday compared to what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there twice. Once when I was at Eastern Michigan, we went there in 2015, and then in 2017 with our team here. So, it was knowing Coach Bowl, going way back to his time at NDSU and different years. I played him 8 times in 9 years, and the teams are always ones that are fundamentally sound, not going to beat themselves. They don't have sometimes the big the glamour plays, but they just solidly just beat you. They just keep coming after you. And I think in 2017 we went there and it was a 13-7 win. It was a grind 'em out win. And we think about that season in 2017 and what type of year that was. That was a hard fought win for us that went right down to the wire. So we are totally expecting that type of game. That's the mindset we have to have each and every week when we step on the football field, knowing that nothing's coming easy. He's going to have to play 4 quarters to get the win.
Grubb mentioned it in his portion of the presser. Just wanted to hear from you. Jake Kaner, if he's going to come out of that walking boot and be able to play 100% in practice this week to be able to suit up for Saturday, is that an idea?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope and expectation is that he continues to, this last week would have been tough as far as being 100%. It was very fortunate for him that he has this extra week to be able to take precautions and things like that. But he needs to get back and get some reps in for practice. And I know he'll do everything, and we'll continue to do just like we did after the UCLA game when he was all beat up to get him ready to play football on Saturday afternoon.
And looking at the schedule, the first 4 games outplayed all your opponents. Even the loss against Oregon and UCLA, you outplayed them. And then the next 2 games, UNLV and Hawaii, those are struggles into the fourth quarter. I mean, is that something about Hayner if he was playing injured during those games? Is it something that you guys got away from, or is it just a matter of you guys were really tired and needed a break?
No, I think it's different things that come into play. You talk about injuries and things like that. The week after the UCLA game on a short week was a crazy week. There's more to it than just how we play. There was a week where we were not physically in a good spot with a lot of guys that week of practice, and just getting through the practices and getting your stuff installed. And that's what's disappointing about the Y game. I think we were in a better spot physically. We just got to execute better, and every week is going to present its own challenges, right? So this week is a new challenge. I mean, it's its own challenge in different ways, and we're talking about them as far as going to Wyoming and what they bring to the table, and that's what's great about college football is just every week it's about really looking at yourself and digging deep and making the most of every opportunity every day. So I think you can hear from the coaches, myself, if you could hear from the players, you're going to hear that they're excited to get back out there tomorrow and practice again and have an awesome week of practice. And we get the chance to play college football on Saturday, and that's awesome.
And my last question is, what did you do during the bye week in your absence of not playing college football? Did you have the smorgasbord of games like Coach Inge? Did you spend time with your family, or did you kind of focus a lot on this week and getting the team right ahead of Wyoming?
Yeah, I thought we did a great job as a coaching staff all week of really trying to grind through the things, whether it was recruiting and then the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Coaches were up here on the weekend too, Saturday, Sunday we were here all day. Just, we had practice and meetings and things like that. So we tried to give a little bit of time on Saturday to maybe refresh our minds as well, not be up here all day and so forth. So catching some football, you flip the TV on when you're watching your own film here. We flip the TV on just to see situations that come up, and that's what I'm always looking at is what are coaches' decisions and situations. What are the situations that are happening that you haven't been in for a while, and how would you deal with that? So it was a good Saturday afternoon. I think a lot of our guys enjoyed it the same way as probably many of the coaches did. So watching some football and relaxing a little bit, getting off their feet.
Coach, two topics, one serious, one fun. Can you just go a little bit about Jake Hayner's injury, his recovery, and if there was a game last Saturday, would he have been able to play?
I think he would have definitely tried to play. We didn't push it because we didn't have to. As far as pushing him practicing, so once we felt like it's better to rest it, we did that. It's constantly being assessed, and I don't know that answer for sure. I really don't. I know that, he's every day getting better, and he's doing everything he can with our training staff. So, I hope today or tomorrow is better than today, and so forth going through the week. I don't think, just right away tomorrow he's going to be all of a sudden 100%. But I don't know how many football players step on the football field at this time of the year that are 100%. We got other guys that have injuries that are a little dinged up as well. So,
and is it his foot or his ankle?
Yeah, it's in the lower foot area, ankle area. Yeah, right down in there.
Is it like a sprain or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And a fun question: Giants or Dodgers?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now. Yeah, that's interesting because. Yeah, I'm not even going to answer that one. I'm not all in on, everywhere I've been, it seems like that baseball team has done pretty well, but we're kind of right in the middle, and that's kind of right where I'm at with my decision, too. I enjoy watching great teams, and the same thing right now with the baseball season. It's great. I don't get to watch it, but I do listen on the radio while I'm watching film, so try to put me on the spot there.
Coach, I will try not to get you in trouble with this next question, too, because I know that there are NCAA violations, et cetera.
Yep.
But I want to ask you about recruiting and the fact that the coaches were out on the road this past week. Any position of need that you're looking for particularly right now, and any area of the state where you felt like the coaches were very successful?
I think every single year you're trying to recruit all the positions. If you have what you want, you're trying to be balanced throughout your classes at the different positions. I think there's some necessity. You know, our receiving core is in a great spot, but there's a lot of guys that are in the latter half of their careers, and so getting some younger guys at receiver would be something, I guess, that jumps out at me. Thinking offensive first here, so you know, offensive line, very similar, and we got some good young ones, but we don't have a lot of players that are, you know, in just last year's class there was just a couple. So, but I think that's the way it is. You go on down the line. I mean, every position's that way. We brought in a couple running backs last year, so maybe that's not as much of a position where we have to go and really push. Let that one kind of come to us a little bit more, but. It always starts up front. I think we need to always continue to be better up front, O-line and D-line. So that's a spot that you're always just racking your brain and trying to scour the face of the earth to try to find the guys that can come in and be a difference maker, both short-term and long-term in building your program. So what was the second part of your question, Andrew?
Just like areas of the state.
Areas of the state.
Like anywhere in California that you're
Yeah.
trying to hit really hard.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to think. Most of it was south for this bye week, just because of some logistics there, and you know, the valley. I think we're doing a pretty good job in the valley. You know, close to probably 25-30% of our team. 30% of our team is there, and you know, it's in state for about 90% of what we're looking at right now. Hopefully, it can get back to last year with the COVID year. It was a little bit trickier, and I think it still is a little bit because there wasn't as much of an assessment of recruiting from last fall, where we got ahead with the recruiting process on some guys that were out of state and who were playing games. But I think we are catching up now, and Wednesday was a big recruiting meeting day for us because all the information was coming back to campus from all the coaches. And where you're aware of who the names are, now you're having a better understanding of who these guys really, truly are, getting a chance to eyeball them or whatever, you know, talk to coaches and things like that. So I think we made a lot of progress with the in-state guys that we knew the names of and just didn't have a full understanding maybe of, you know, how good they were, or, you know, the few things that we needed to collect as far as information. So.
Do you know how big your class is going to be in 2 months?
Well, you know, it's not going to be when I say, I think I made a comment the other day about it's not going to be as big of a recruiting class. I think that's more about the early signing day. I think in the end, as we go through it, you lose guys maybe to the NFL, you know, I mean, it's inevitable. You're going to lose someone to the transfer portal, someone that you least expect. It just happens. It's just the world we're living in now. And so as that goes on, especially with the new legislation that's been passed where you can replace those guys with your initial counterpiece, you know, I think it will continue. It's going to be a year-long process as far as our recruiting goes. But I don't think that we'll have this enormous, you know, 20 class of signees, you know, come the middle of December. I'm actually good with where we're at. I think we got a number. We got, you know, half a dozen guys that are committed, and you know, I feel good about that position that we're in, and you know, we're moving forward. I think where we'll have a few more here in the next couple weeks ahead, you know, and so forth. So don't want to. I think last year it was about getting ahead of the game. I think this year it's about letting things develop, letting things just kind of play out. You know, and I think as our season continues to go in the direction it was, especially going until last week, there was continued to be great interest, right? And now that interest, you know, still exists, and so you know, we'll just keep grinding through the fall, and we'll continue to recruit through the spring. There's no question about it. I think you guys all saw our roster continue to evolve through the winter and the spring and the summer, and those guys are guys that are out there making difference for us this fall on the football field.
Since you did mention guys potentially leaving through the transfer portal, did want to ask you about Isaiah Johnson. Did that come as a surprise and at this juncture in the season as well?
Yeah, I mean, from, you know, just I think real briefly, just Isaiah is a great person. You know, just wish he was playing with us here. Certainly had a role on our football team, you know, and was on the football field making plays for us, and and like I said, had a role, and he just wants a little something different out of his career than what he sees it being here. And I'm going to wish him the best because he's a class act, just like some of the other players we've talked about that have moved on. Some that we've played against. You want these years that guys are playing college football to be the best time of their life, and so when they're good people, you're always going to be rooting for them.
Hey, Coach, I know this could be a hard question to answer, but through the first 6 weeks of the season, what's the one lesson you learned about the team that maybe you didn't know to begin the season, and what do you still see that you guys need to maybe grow a little bit more the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think team football is an area just, a lot of it revolves around just taking care of the turnovers, We can get more turnovers too. We I think are probably pretty focused on, not giving the football up. I think that's a common theme just hearing the questions. But we also need to get more turnovers. And, we've created some big ones at some great times. There's no question about it. And I'm actually very confident that we will create turnovers just because of the way we play. But I think as far as learning more about our team in a positive way, I think we got a group of guys that are going to fight till the very end. There is no doubt in my mind, and that's going to carry us. It leads to heartbreaking moments. It leads to a Sunday and Monday after a game like last week where the guys probably hold on to it longer than you normally would, but that means it's important, and it's super important for our guys, and we're going to fight to the very end. There is no doubt in my mind. I mean, I honestly believed, and I told the team this, that when they got the ball and they were on their own 1 yard line, that we were somehow in 8 or 9 seconds still going to have a way to win it somehow. And the ball came out at the very end, and those are some of the things I think our team just believes that. And even though some breaks didn't go our way, and we didn't make some of the breaks go our way, I can tell you that these guys, are going to fight and not going to point the finger at each other. Going to believe that the other side of the ball can get it done. Our special teams continues to do a pretty good job as well.
Coach, you're facing a Wyoming team that defended over 60 rushes last week and defended only 10 passes. Is there any thought that run defense could become fatigued quicker in this matchup, or that a passing defense could be a little out of sync compared to what they normally are because of that?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, obviously, Air Force, and so it's going to be that way. And you're asking if they might be more fatigued because of what they played in last week. I'm sure there's a little more physical game, and so I'm sure they're a little more beat up because of it, I guess. You could kind of maybe think that way. But I also know that they have a very good pass defense before they played Air Force. They were very high up there as far as the number of yards they've given up, and they found ways to get interceptions, I think it's more about just you reset, and they're going to reset, and I mean, I think you're talking about week 7 for us and week 6 for them. You kind of know who you are. You know your strengths. You know your weaknesses. We know their strengths and weaknesses, and we just gotta come ready to play. We know what they're going to do. They know what we're trying to do. And we got to come ready to play, come out of the gate. If we can execute right away, that's going to obviously set the tone for the entire game. And that's just probably one of the areas, I guess, going back to the last question, one of the areas that we need to just continue to get better at.
I don't think any quarterback's thrown for 250 against their pass coverage, and no one's held Jake to that number, of course, anywhere close to that. What do you see about their pass defense that stands out, and how do you foresee kind of a strength versus strength matchup?
Yeah, and if Jake didn't throw for that, then I don't feel like that's necessarily that's we got to, if you're going to have an emphasis in the run, you might take away a little bit from the pass, right? And so there's just only so many snaps you have. So, I think that, they do a good job mixing things up. They're a little more man from what we've seen them in the past years, going back to 3-4 years ago. But they also mix in some good zone coverages and try to disguise things that way. So the teams will probably play us a little differently than the way they play other teams, as far as what they're wanting to give up. You kind of saw that with Hawaii. It wasn't a surprise. We kind of learned last year. I can remember watching a team play Nevada, and then us thinking that that's the way they're going to play us because of what we do offensively, and that's exactly what it was. And that's again been the common theme. Teams play us a little differently than the way they play others, just because of what our strengths are, and that our strengths are very strong. So especially in the pass game. So we got to just do a good job. I mean, get the ball to our athletes and let them go make plays. And that's what Jake's job has always been. It won't change. He's got a high completion percentage. We just got to limit the turnovers, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
Any more questions for Coach DeBoer?
I mean, since the interception issue was brought up, I just had a question about Hawaii. I mean, Haener had 2 interceptions leading up to that game. Then he has double that in that game. Was that something that Todd Graham did well on defense, or was that something that Haener needed to work on during the bye week to fix in terms of the interception problem?
Well, I think they did a good job when they had a chance. They made the play. I can think of the one in the red zone. Jake has a progression, and they baited him into it, and they made plays. I mean, there's a diving catch that they made right where they cut underneath of Eric Brooks. So you got to give other people credit too. But in the end, we can't have that happen. So the last tip ball. I mean, we just got to trying to find a passing lane to throw it to where you don't have to lob it, and now it's a tough catch for Ty, and you can assess and you look at all those, and it's a little something different on each one. And when that happens, you got to give a little bit of credit to the other team for the plays they made and being in position. So, but I know Jake takes it personally, and it's something he's always conscious of. It was just one of those where just all of a sudden it just kind of stacked up on top of each other, and if we turn a couple of those, even you always tell during the week, and even be going out maybe if you're in the red zone, it's like, hey, we got points here, let's make sure we get them, and that's just maybe the mindset he's got to have, and trying to force things too much. And when you have a hot hand like he's had, you don't think negatively, you think positively, and some of those things kind of all of a sudden surprise you when someone else makes a play on you, because that hasn't happened too much against him. So Jake's a fighter, though, man, and our whole team believes him. There's no question about it. And
Last question real
he's
quick.
going to come out ready to go.
Have you ever coached a gunslinger like Jake Haener who has that hot hand mentality and just throws it in? And if you've had a gunslinger quarterback like that, what have you done to kind of reel him in sometimes?
Yeah, no, I mean, and Jake's got a great head on his shoulder, so he's gonna be just fine. I can't say we've thrown the ball as much as we have, maybe here and there, but not as consistently, and that's a huge tribute to Jake, to Coach Grubb, and the offensive staff for putting them in great spots, and of course our skill players, for making the plays consistently, because this isn't just a one-game thing where we've done it at a high level. We've done it many games, over the last 2 years. So he's going to be good to go. He's just going to be even extra focused and extra motivated. I can tell you that. All right. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good week.